Picture this. You wake up, you stumble into your bathroom ready to jump in the shower, and instead of that fresh, clean morning feeling, you are hit with this, like, undeniable, heavy, rotten egg smell.
Oh, yeah. That is definitely not how you want to start your day.
Right. You check your shoes, you check the trash can, but it's just, lingering in the air. Or maybe later that day you're doing the dishes and you start noticing that the kitchen sink is draining just a little bit slower this week than it did last week.
Mm.
It's subtle, but it's there. The water sort of pools for a few seconds before finally going down.
Yeah, and it is the exact kind of household friction most of us are literally programmed to try and ignore. I mean, we light a scented candle in the bathroom, we pour a giant jug of liquid drain cleaner under the kitchen sink, and we just cross our fingers hoping the problem magically resolves itself overnight.
Because who actually wants to think about the reality of what is happening a few feet underneath their pristine lawn?
Honestly, nobody.
Nobody. But today, we are going to look right at it. For this deep dive, we are pulling from a really fascinating piece of source material. It's an article titled Septic Tank Smells, Slow Drains, and Strange Noises, Why SEPTIFIX Keeps Coming Up as a Homeowner Favorite.
It's a great read, actually.
It really is. So our mission today is to explore this completely invisible underground ecosystem of home plumbing. We are going to decode the specific warning signs of a failing septic system, and, we're going to examine the actual science behind why this one specific preventive treatment has become such a massive trend online.
Which is so important because we tend to take our hidden infrastructure completely for granted, right up until the exact moment it demands our attention. And the reality of an underground waste system is that by the time it demands your attention, it's rarely just a polite tap on the shoulder.
Oh, definitely not.
Yeah, it's usually an incredibly expensive, incredibly messy disaster.
Okay, let's unpack this, because to understand how to fix the system, or even prevent it from breaking in the first place, we have to understand how it actually works on a mechanical level. And I guess, more importantly, how it cries for help when things go wrong.
Right. So septic problems rarely happen overnight. It's a very slow, compounding buildup. To really visualize what's happening, you have to think about what a septic tank is actually doing every single day.
Which is a lot of heavy lifting.
Exactly. It isn't just a hollow concrete box that holds water. When wastewater leaves your house, meaning every flush, every shower, every load of laundry, it flows into this tank, and then physics just takes over. The tank naturally separates the waste into 3 distinct layers.
So it's basically like an underground, highly unappetizing layer cake.
That is a very vivid way to put it, but yeah, pretty much. So the top layer is the scum layer. That's where all lighter materials float, so you're cooking greases, fats, oils. Then the middle layer is the clear effluent, which is basically just wastewater. And the bottom layer is the sludge. That's where all the heavy solids settle. So human waste, toilet paper, soap residue, all of it sinks to the bottom.
Got it. And the system has to handle all that somehow.
Right. In a healthy system, bacteria actually eat that bottom sludge layer, and the middle liquid layer slowly flows out into your yard's drain field to be filtered by the soil.
But the article makes it really clear that when that system starts to struggle, when that bottom sludge layer isn't being eaten fast enough, it starts sending us warning signs. And they follow a very specific physical path.
They really do.
Going back to that morning bathroom scenario, persistent smells. The sources note homeowners often describe it as a sulfur smell or rotten eggs, or just a deeply, deeply musty sewage scent.
Yeah, and those smells are a direct physical symptom of the breakdown process failing. When the sludge inside the tank accumulates way too much, the natural gases produced during waste decomposition end up trapped.
Because there's no room for them anymore.
Exactly. They can no longer be processed or vented properly within that underground environment. So gas builds pressure, and gas will always seek the path of least resistance.
Which is straight back into the house.
Yep, right. That path is straight back up your plumbing lines, through your P-traps, and out of the drains and vents inside your home.
Well, if the gas is traveling up the pipes and causing those awful smells, it tells you exactly what happens to the water trying to go down. If that tank is choked with thickened sludge, the water from your shower or your washing machine hits a literal wall.
There's nowhere to go.
Right. Which brings us to the slow drains. And the sources point out a crucial distinction here. A single slow bathroom sink might just be like a hair clog, but if you have multiple drains slowing down at the exact same time,
then you are looking at a systemic whole house issue. As the solid waste accumulates and that sludge layer thickens too high inside the tank, it restricts the flow of the middle liquid layer.
the
Right, the effluent. The wastewater from your house struggles to even enter the tank because the internal volume is completely compromised. So water movement slows to a crawl across the entire house because back pressure is building up inside the main plumbing lines.
That clash. I mean, the water trying to go down while the trapped gas is trying to go up, it explains the third warning sign, which honestly sounds like the start of a horror movie to me. Gurgling noises.
Oh yeah, the gurgling is a classic sign.
You flush a toilet in the master bathroom, and suddenly you hear bubbling coming from the shower drain, or the kitchen sink just gurgles randomly while you're standing in the hallway.
It's because the air is physically fighting against the restricted wastewater flow. Since the tank is struggling to process the waste efficiently, it creates these really volatile pressure changes inside the lines.
Wow. Okay.
So the descending water forces those trapped air pockets back up, creating that bubbling, gurgling sound as the air literally breaks through the water sitting in your toilet bowl or sink traps.
If we think of the plumbing system like a giant human digestive tract, when it gets indigestion, when it physically can't process what we've fed it, it burps.
Basically.
That's the gurgling.
Oh, yeah.
And the burp causes a stink. But the last symptom is the one that really requires a massive perspective shift. Yard signs. The article mentions soggy patches, standing water, and get this unusually fast-growing, extra green grass right over the drain field.
This is where it gets tricky for a lot of people.
Right. Wait, extra green, fast-growing grass? Most homeowners would be thrilled. You're telling me my lush lawn is actually a distress signal.
What's fascinating here is the biology of why that grass is so green. It's getting heavily fertilized, but in the absolute worst way possible.
Oh, no.
Yeah. When the septic tank is completely overloaded with sludge, that middle liquid layer we talked about earlier, the effluent, it can't flow out to the drain field properly, or the drain field itself gets choked with unprocessed organic matter.
So it just backs up.
Exactly. The wastewater has nowhere to go but up. It begins surfacing above ground.
Oh, wow. That is disgusting. So that unusually fast-growing, vibrant patch of grass isn't a sign of a healthy lawn. It is raw, unprocessed wastewater acting as a nutrient-rich, hazardous fertilizer right on the surface of your property.
Yes, unfortunately.
That completely ruins the illusion of a perfect yard for me.
I know, it's terrible. But ignoring that surfacing water is a critical error because it means the soil beneath it is completely failing. The biological engine of your entire system has stalled.
Okay, so we've diagnosed the symptoms. The system is sick, it's burping, it's backing up, and it's basically flooding the yard. But now we have to look at the engine itself, because these symptoms don't just happen by magic, right? They happen because the biological workforce inside the tank is failing.
Right. We really need to remember that a septic system is essentially a living bioreactor. It depends entirely on living organisms, beneficial bacteria, to consume and break down all that organic waste in the sludge layer.
But the article points out two massive saboteurs that ruin this bioreactor, and the first one actually comes down to oxygen.
Yeah, the core problem in a failing system is very often a lack of oxygen. The bacteria that live in a totally oxygen-starved environment are called anaerobic bacteria.
So anaerobic means they don't have oxygen.
Right. Think of anaerobic bacteria like incredibly sluggish, unmotivated workers. They do eventually break down the waste, but they work at a fraction of the speed, and they leave a massive toxic mess behind.
And that mess is the smell, isn't it?
Spot on. That mess is hydrogen sulfide, the exact gas that causes that rotten egg smell in your bathroom.
Okay, so they are slow and they stink. But the second saboteur isn't a natural chemical process. It's us. It's literally our modern household habits.
It really is. The way we clean our homes is actively killing the ecosystem that manages our waste.
Wait, think about that for a second. We buy antibacterial soap because we want to keep our families healthy and our hands clean. But by washing our hands with those products, we are sending a direct, targeted biological weapon straight down the drain into a tank that relies entirely on a delicate bacterial balance to function. We are actively poisoning whatever bacteria is left in that tank. Harsh chemicals, bleach, strong laundry detergents. We are just nuking our own biological workforce.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it highlights a profound irony in our modern domestic lives. A relentless pursuit of a completely sterile, germ-free environment indoors is the exact mechanism that triggers the failure of our waste management environment outdoors.
It's crazy when you put it like that.
Right. We destroy the natural bacterial balance, so the sluggish anaerobic bacteria can't keep up with the incoming waste.
Yeah.
The sludge builds up, and the whole system starts backing up into the house.
We are pouring bleach down our drains to make our countertops smell like, pine needles, and as a result, our bathrooms end up smelling like a sewer. It's wild.
It is a vicious cycle.
So since we've established that our daily habits are inadvertently destroying this vital ecosystem, what is the solution? This leads us directly into the massive trend we're seeing in online homeowner communities. There's a total pivot in how people are handling this stuff now.
Absolutely. There's a very clear shift away from emergency reactive behavior and toward proactive natural prevention.
The old reactive way was basically pure panic. You see a slow drain or hear a gurgle, you run to the hardware store, and you buy a gallon of extremely aggressive, industrial-strength chemical drain cleaner. You pour liquid fire down the pipe, just hoping it melts whatever is causing the problem.
Which is the absolute worst thing you could do to a bioreactor. I mean, those aggressive chemical treatments might burn through a localized hair clog in the pipe, but when they reach the tank, they further devastate whatever remaining bacterial balance you have.
Making the real problem so much worse.
Oh, entirely. Plus, the extreme acidity and heat generated by those chemicals can physically degrade the plumbing pipes and permanently scar the soil in the drain fields over the long term.
So DIY groups, neighborhood forums, and homeowners in the know are pivoting. They are actively seeking out natural, non-toxic septic care. They want to rebuild the workforce, not bomb it. And that is exactly where this product, SEPTIFIX, comes into the source material. It keeps coming up as the preferred preventative treatment.
Yeah, according to the article, SEPTIFIX has gained major traction because it approaches the problem biologically. It's basically a solid tablet used as a monthly septic tank treatment.
And the appeal seems heavily rooted in its simplicity. I mean, nobody wants to don a hazmat suit to deal with their plumbing.
Definitely not.
There are no messy liquid enzymes to measure out, no complicated mixing routines, and no renting heavy pumping equipment. It is just a single tablet. You drop it in your toilet once a month, you flush it, and it supposedly goes to work. But we really need to look at the actual science of how it works.
Right. Because the mechanics of the tablet are designed to reverse those two saboteurs we just discussed. First, it contains a fresh supply of beneficial bacteria and waste-breaking ingredients to replenish the workforce that our daily household cleaners keep killing off.
Okay, that makes sense.
But crucially, the tablet is formulated with oxygen-releasing compounds.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because I have to push back on this concept of adding oxygen. We established earlier that a septic tank is an underground, sealed concrete box filled with water and organic waste. Isn't it naturally supposed to be an oxygen-free zone? Why on earth are we trying to pump oxygen into a sealed underwater environment?
That is actually the most common misconception about how these systems operate at peak efficiency. Yes, it's an underground tank, but as we discussed with our sluggish workers, an oxygen-starved environment is the root cause of the slow breakdown and the terrible odors.
Oh, right.
By introducing oxygen into that environment, you change the entire biological profile of the tank. You allow aerobic bacteria to thrive.
So if the anaerobic bacteria are the sluggish workers, what are the aerobic bacteria?
Think of aerobic bacteria as high-performance, elite athletes. They are highly efficient, and they consume organic sludge, paper waste, and grease buildup at a radically accelerated pace compared to the sluggish workers.
Wow, okay.
But, just like athletes, they require oxygen to perform. Furthermore, because aerobic bacteria use an oxidative process to break down waste, they produce carbon dioxide, which is odorless, rather than that foul-smelling hydrogen sulfide.
Okay, that definitely explains the why, but explain the how.
Wait, so how does a dry, solid tablet you flush down a toilet actually generate oxygen at the bottom of a sludge-filled tank?
It works through a controlled chemical reaction. When the specific compounds in the solid tablet make contact with the wastewater in the tank, they react and effervesce.
Effervesce, like bubble up.
Exactly. Think of an effervescent vitamin C tablet you drop into a glass of water, just bubbling away.
Yeah.
The SEPTIFIX tablet is designed to sink to the sludge layer and slowly release micro bubbles of oxygen into the surrounding liquid over a period of time. Oh, I see.
It acts like an aerator in a fish tank, dispersing oxygen throughout the environment so the elite athletes have the fuel they need to thrive and just burn through the waste.
You are aerating the bioreactor. You're giving the good bacteria the air they need to eat the grease and the toilet paper much faster. It makes perfect sense why people in the article report that their persistent septic smells disappear quickly and their drains start performing better. You're literally supercharging the digestion process and eliminating the stinky byproduct.
Precisely. You are restoring a biological balance that was severely stressed by our heavy water usage and our modern cleaning chemicals. It's advanced chemistry and biology applied to really simple household maintenance.
But with any online trend that sounds like a magic bullet, we need a serious reality check here. Does flushing an oxygenating tablet down the toilet once a month mean homeowners are entirely off the hook for physical maintenance? Like, are the pump trucks obsolete now?
Absolutely not. And the source material is very clear on this point. SEPTIFIX cannot and does not replace professional septic pumping.
Because there's stuff in that tank that bacteria simply cannot eat no matter how much oxygen you give them, right?
Exactly.
Plastics, synthetic fibers from our laundry, the actual dirt we wash off our hands, that inorganic solid matter will always accumulate eventually.
Correct. Even the biggest advocates for natural treatments agree that regular professional septic pumping is an unavoidable, required part of homeownership.
So what is the actual point of the tablet then? If I still have to call the pump truck, why bother with a monthly treatment at all?
The goal is maximizing efficiency and longevity. It's about keeping the system functioning flawlessly between those required pumpings.
Buying yourself time and peace of mind.
Exactly. It significantly reduces the rate of organic waste accumulation, it stops those foul odors from penetrating your home, and it prevents the system from backing up during periods of heavy use.
And the sources mention some specific scenarios where this biological support is especially crucial. Vacation homes really stood out to me.
Oh, they are a perfect example.
Right. Think about a summer cabin. It sits entirely inactive for months. Without a steady supply of waste and water, the bacteria just starve and the population crashes. Then suddenly, a family of 8 arrives for a long holiday weekend. They're doing loads of laundry, flushing toilets constantly, taking multiple showers. The decimated bacteria population is just instantly overwhelmed.
And that's where the tablet comes in. It bridges that gap, essentially reseeding the tank with an active workforce to handle the sudden surge. It's also highly recommended for households with aging septic systems, where the drain field soil might be compacted and not filtering as efficiently as it did, say, 20 years ago.
Or simply large families with incredibly heavy daily water and detergent usage.
Yes. In all these cases, the natural ecosystem is under constant attack and just needs biological reinforcements to keep up.
So, what does this all mean? If I'm a homeowner listening to this, the value proposition laid out in these sources seems pretty undeniable. Spending a little bit of effort, literally just the 10 seconds it takes to flush a tablet once a month, is essentially a very cheap insurance policy.
That's a great way to look at it.
Because if you slide into apathy and you ignore those warnings, the subtle smells, the slow pooling in the shower, you aren't just looking at an annoying Saturday plumbing project.
Not at all. The financial stakes of that apathy cannot be overstated. When a septic system fails completely because the sludge has ruined the drain field, it is catastrophic.
Bring us into that reality. What does a failure actually look like?
It looks like a fleet of heavy excavators parked on your property. Yeah. It means backhoes, tearing up your pristine lawn, destroying your landscaping, and ripping out driveways just to reach the damaged pipes. It means the smell of raw sewage permeating your entire neighborhood.
Nobody wants to be that neighbor.
Definitely not. And it means your household plumbing is completely disabled for weeks, forcing your family to use porta potties rented for the front yard while the excavation happens.
And the bill for that kind of full drain field restoration or total system replacement, we are talking tens of thousands of dollars. Easily.
Easily. All of that financial devastation, the ruined yard, and the immense stress simply because the biological engine underground was starved of oxygen and poisoned by our daily habits.
This raises an important question, and it's really the core of why this trend toward prevention is so positive. Knowledge is only valuable when it is actually applied. Paying attention to those early, minor symptoms, a pipe that gurgles a little too loudly, a sink that takes an extra minute to drain, and then engaging in proactive, natural maintenance. That is the ultimate display of responsible homeownership.
It really is.
It forces you to ask, how often do we ignore the small friction points in our lives, assuming they will just fix themselves, until they become full-blown crises?
This raises an important question, actually. We just spent this entire time discussing how our daily use of antibacterial soaps, harsh chemical cleaners, and bleach products, specifically designed, marketed, and purchased to protect our health and hygiene inside the house, are the exact mechanisms destroying the health of the vital ecosystem just outside the house.
It's so true.
It makes you wonder, What other modern conveniences or daily cleaning habits are secretly sabotaging the invisible infrastructure we rely on every single day?
That is a deeply unsettling but absolutely necessary thought to leave on. The things keeping us clean might be the very things creating the mess. Thank you all for taking this deep dive with us today into the hidden, highly pressurized world beneath our homes. So keep your eyes open, keep your ears tuned to those pipes, maybe think twice about how much bleach you really need, and most importantly, stay curious. Catch you next time.